Vishwamitrasya rakshati brahmedam bharatam janam. It means that Vishwamitra's Brahma, that is mantra which is given by Vishwamitra, Bharatam janam, the people of Bharata, rakshati, protects. The mantra given by our Vishwamitra Rishi protects the people of Bharata.
How old is our beloved country Bharat? India, as we call it now for our country, is a latest name adorned on us by foreign rulers. The name of the country from time immemorial was Bharatvarsha, and we can find this name repeated in many Purana, Itihasa and other literature. According to Purana, there was a mighty king called Bharata who was son of Rishabdeva. There is another character in Purana, another Bharata in Purana who was son of Dushyanta and Shakuntala. And some scholars are of opinion that the name Bharata, Bharat has derived from the names of these mighty kings. But it doesn't look reasonable. The name Bharat can be much older than Puranic period, and people might have adopted this name for their children and not the otherwise. It will be a surprise to many that the word Bharat is available in Rig Veda. Dr. L Kashyap, a well-known scientist who worked in America for 30 years as a professor in Purdue University, and a Vedic scholar par eminence who translated all Vedas into English, and not in the ordinary sense of translation, but he's taken the cue from Aurobindo and Kabali Shastri and translated the full Veda in the Adhyatmic line. And he has explained all the symbolic mean in Veda. And he is definitely a right person to talk about.
Here is questions posed by Sri Sunil Kumar and the answers by Dr. L Kashyap. Here is a list of 15 questions connected with the Bharat and Veda. First question. Does Veda has any mantra for Bharat, a country? The answer is yes. That mantra is in the third mandala of the Rig Veda. Vishwamitrasya rakshati brahmedam bharatam janam. Brahma, the mantra of Vishwamitra, protects the people of Bharata. There are many other mantras like this in the Rig Veda. Question 2. What is Bharat? A cultural identity or a country with a geographical boundaries? It is simultaneously both of them. It is a country with a geographical boundaries. Normally we speak of the Bharat bounded on the top by the Himalayan mountains and at the bottom by the three oceans of the Indian Ocean, what is now called Arabian Sea, and what is called as the Gulf of Bengal, and that sort of thing. So that is, but in earlier times the region was vast. It included, for example, Burma, for example, the current Afghanistan was the ancient kingdom of Gandhara, associated, mentioned in the Mahabharata. But the cultural identity is important. All the people, even though we speak so many different languages, we believe we belong to one particular culture, and therefore people in the north come all the way to Rameshwaram, and the south part of their pilgrimage. Similarly, people from the south go to the east to see the places associated with Sri Krishna, go all the way to northeast, go to the north for visiting Amarnath and other places of pilgrimage. Therefore, and there is a constant mention of all of them. Ramayana is there in all languages. For example, in Kannada, there is a translation in Kannada language by Pampa. Similarly, there is a language of Mahabharata is all Indian languages are there. Therefore, the idea of a cultural identity, yes, it is a common cultural identity. Third question. Can we say Bharat, a living entity like Mother Earth, as referred to by Atharva Veda? Very much so. Bharat is a self, shall we say, in the Atharva Veda. In the Atharva Veda has 20 books. In the 12th book deals completely with what is called as the hymn to the Mother Earth, Bhu Sukta. It is also called the Prithvi Sukta. Prithvi also means Prithu is that which is wide. Therefore, the prayer in the Atharva Veda is that our Bharat, the earth, completely is considered as a self-organizing mechanism, self-organizing entity, which is not simply made up of soil and rocks and that sort of thing, but it is made up of fundamental principles like Satyam, the truth absolute, Ritam, the truth in the moment, and Bharat, the vastness. It is upheld by Diksha, Tapa, Brahma, Yajna. It is upheld by the insights of all of our sages, Diksha. Tapa, by their concentration. Brahma, the power of the mantras. And Yajna, the collaborative activities between the gods, Devaha, cosmic powers and men. And all of them support the Prithvi Dharayanta, and Earth is the Bhutasya Bhavyasya Patni. She is the master of the past and the future. And the prayer of the Rishi is, may she make us become wide in all respects. Urulokam Krunotu. Therefore, this our Bharat, of course, is part of the Mother Earth, and it is almost, if you look at the map, we are almost clearly marked out part. It has all of those ideas are also there. We have to understand, India never went on conquering expeditions. We did not go to other places like getting real estate as the Western imperial power started. Therefore, our idea was we went there in some sense, first of all, as traders. Then Buddhism was already there. Therefore, it went, both Buddhism and Hinduism, it went from what we call southern India, Tamil Nadu, to all of those things like Laos, Vietnam, Malaysia, etc., Bharat. Afghanistan, of course, is on the northwest of India. It is Kandahar, Gandhara, is already in Mahabharata. And of course, Burma, the Myanmar, now we shouldn't even call it Burma, the Myanmar. And the Tibet, of course, is very near to our place, and therefore there are lots of books are there in Tibetan language regarding Buddhism, and the connection between Tibet and India was very close. Many monks, Buddhist monks came to India. Next question. How the Sanskrit and language embedded in the cultural identity of Bharat? This is a very important question. Sanskrit is simply not a language like anything else. If, for example, if you want to teach English to a person, you ask a meaning, what is the meaning of this word, you have to show him a picture or a dictionary. The advantage of Sanskrit is in some sense the meaning of each word becomes self-revelatory, as it were. If only you think about it for a few minutes or a little longer than that. Therefore, language Sanskrit has been the language of India for a long time. All of the Vedas, which are we know, they are, according to me, at least the dates I give would be Mahabharata 3000 before the Christian era, that is 5000 years before now. Ramayana some 2000 years earlier, and of course Vedas are much earlier. My argument is, the hard fact is, it was in India, Bharat, especially in the area of the 7 rivers, in what we now call as the Saraswati, Sindhu civilization, where all of these hymns originally came into being. Therefore, the argument is, Sanskrit has, so Veda are known to us in the language of Sanskrit, special version known as the Vedic Sanskrit. It's a little different from the classical Sanskrit, but it has all the same sounds, and our basis is still, remember, Vedic Sanskrit is much earlier than the grammar of Sanskrit. We call it due to Panini, and Panini's grammar became clarified only because of the great commentary of Patanjali. Therefore, even though so many commentaries that are there, when we speak of Mahabhashya, the great commentary, it refers only to the work of Patanjali on the grammar. But we have to understand that Panini does mention the Veda grammar, and it clearly, carefully states it has its own several rules. It clearly states that they had not, for example, the idea of vibhaktis had not become as rigid as it is in the current language. Therefore, the argument is, Sanskrit was the language of India. It doesn't mean other languages were not there. Obviously, common people could have spoken languages like Prakrit in South India, different languages. All these possibilities are there. We don't go into that. So, Harappan culture, we should call it as the Harappan culture, as you know, is not a small piece of land. If you look into the books by the great archaeologist B. Lal and other people, you will see the maps given. As I told you, it goes all the way from the Mehergarh up to, let us say, Gujarat and Haryana and that sort of thing. An important point in all of these which B. Lal makes is, if you look into the way farming was done in the Harappa area, the way they do it is very similar to some of the places where Haryana it is done. Therefore, there is a close connection between the two things. Therefore, the idea is it's very much related to the present land. It didn't simply come away from some other land. Okay. Who are Aryans? And I am in question number 8. Who are Aryans and where they come from? This is a very ticklish question. We have to understand that in the 19th century, the British came. They did not want to sort of accept the idea of a great civilization existing in India. Therefore, they thought Indians were not capable of anything original. Therefore, they started the idea that India was colonized by the Aryans who came from some place near the North Pole or whatever it is. The idea always was that, after all, we have to remember in the 19th century, Britain put forth the argument that to call the independence of India is absurd because this country has been occupied by so many people. The Muslims were there, earlier Aryans were there. Therefore, the argument is the people who have latest the power are the latest rulers. Therefore, in British is the legal ruler of India. That is, so for them, the idea of the... So, it was called as the Aryan invasion of India. But now so much evidence has come, it has become Aryan migration of India. But even the evidence based on what you may call the molecular biology people and others, they say there has been no invention earlier. There is no evidence of any entry to India after 4500 BC. That is this idea. Therefore, my argument really is Aryans, in Veda, the word comes clearly, Aryan means a noble persons. Therefore, our Vedic, one of the Vedic mantras basically in the 9th mandala says, Vishwantu Krinvam Aryam. Therefore, let all people in the universe become noble. Aryam Krinvantu. By what? By the power of Indra. Indram Vardhantu Apturaha. Vishwantu Krinvam Aryam. At the same time, they said all those people who want to destroy other people, Apagnantu Arannam. This is in the 9th mandala, 63rd sukta of the Rig Veda. Therefore, Aryan was never meant as a racial idea. It was all the Western idea about the Europeans. Therefore, they thought since Indians were not there, Aryans were assumed to have blue eyes and all that sort of a thing. This is all the Western imagination. So Arya is there. Later, of course, Sanskrit is a various versions are there. Therefore, summing up, Arya literally means a noble person. It has absolutely nothing to do with any race at all. That was the problem of the Germans and other things for which we do not go into that idea. So where they came from, of course, people say Aryans came from Kyrgyz area in Russia, and so many places are there. All that is a pure conjecture. There is no evidence. For example, even some people who believe in that finally agree the Vedic hymns were composed in India completely, and that is the date I have given. So the date I give basically, for example, the evidence for the area of the Harappa civilization area. It has been all the dates are confirmed by our latest tests and that sort of thing. Therefore, there is no question about it. So, the point we have to understand is Aryan does not a racial meaning. It refers to all people who are culturally advanced. Therefore, clearly there are people who are not so advanced also, that is there. They are called as, in the Veda, they are called as dasas, whereas Aryans are the people who always were, shall we say, supported the powers of light and knowledge. The dasas were the people who are opposed to it. The important point of the Veda is the Aryans are the cosmic powers, Deva. Their idea was to empower all the human beings, number one. Allow all people to have the knowledge and allow all the people in some sense to live harmoniously. Therefore, they were the ideals of the Aryans. The idea was that they did not preach poverty, they didn't preach don't marry and that sort of thing. All the rishis were married and had their children. The rishis' names such as Kashyapa, Vasishta, Vishwamitra, Jamadagni, they were all married and they had children, their disciples. Therefore, the Vedic point is not only it teaches not only live and let live, it says you, by all means you work hard and become prosperous, but you also others to become prosperous also. That is part of your dharma. That point Veda again and again makes this point. So Veda encourages very much the hard work. You say Veda, it says not meant for people who sleep. It is meant for people in some sense who are there. Therefore it describes in the Veda, it is not only the goal that is important, the journey is also important. And therefore it calls the journey of life as Advara in the Veda. At least some 500 times the word Adva, the journey occurs in the Veda. Therefore journey of life is very important. Therefore it is pictured, like the modern people picture, just as modern physics people, every paper adds a step in the ladder as it were. Therefore the first mandala, 10th sukta, first mantra, basically says Indra, rishis climb Indra just like a ladder. Just as we go step by step, they climb the ladder. Or it is another analogy is climbing a mountain. You go to one particular peak, climb it, come down. That is one particular piece of knowledge like physics or chemistry or astronomy. Then we go to another mountain. let us say biology and go and up. Therefore, our life is going from mountain to mountain. But the point is, we have to ask this question. You simply take even the published literature. Aurobindo says, we had a book on everything. Gardening, on horse riding, on making the steel, on everything. He asked a simple question. How come we had such a variety of knowledge and all of our books and that sort of thing? He traces this exuberance of creativity completely to the Vedas. Therefore, once you study the Vedas in detail, in some sense you also get that high level of creativity, and you can focus not simply on the so-called other world and other things. You can focus upon all aspects of our present life, and that is the reason the Vedic life by and large was a highly creative life. That all of us in some sense have to welcome new ideas. The world is changing so fast, but the Veda basically says that is the nature of the world, that changes continuously. But the whole Vedic idea is, it is possible for us in some sense to accept the changes. We allow multiplicity in our thinking. Therefore, in some sense, any new idea, for example, Rigveda says in the first mandala, 90th sukta, let us welcome knowledge from all quarters. Such a sentence you don't find any other culture in any other place.